Welcome, everybody, to the College Football Playoff Preview Show on the Grilling True Sports Network. Today, we're going to look at the Tennessee Volunteers as they travel to Columbus Saturday night to battle the Ohio State Buckeyes. The Buckeyes are favored by 7.5 points right now. And if you want to bet that line, go to BetMGM, the top sportsbook for betting on college football. You can click on the links in the description down below if you're watching on YouTube. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, and I would say the two biggest games coming into this weekend are the two best matchups are Friday night's Indiana Notre Dame, and then Saturday night, Ohio State versus Tennessee. Now, the point spread for all four of these early games are at least a touchdown. And yes, Ohio State still is playing football. It might have seemed like the world ended with that bizarre loss to Michigan. And Ryan Day has already been fired by a sizable portion of the Buckeye fan base. And things are so bad after a fourth straight loss to that team up north that it's just Ohio State University now without the. Now, on top of all that, the Buckeyes still might win the national championship this season. But first, they have to get through a Tennessee team making its first appearance in the college football playoff. It was in the first BCS championship game in 1998 and won it all. And now it's somewhat quietly worked its way into the first expanded college football playoff, almost entirely to a 24-17 win over Alabama. Now, these are two superpower programs with superpower fan bases and superpower expectations, playing the headliner game in the first round with the winner getting Oregon in the Rose Bowl. It should be a absolute classic game. Now, if you look at the history for Ohio State and Tennessee bowl history, Ohio State is 27-28 in bowl and college football playoff games. It lost 14-3 last year to Missouri or in the Cotton Bowl. Tennessee 31-25 in bowl games with two straight wins, six of its last seven. Again, this is the team's first time in the college football playoff. The weather is supposed to be snow on Friday night at Ohio State, but it should be clear on Saturday night. However, it's going to be like 20 degrees. The all-time record between these teams is shockingly it's just the second meeting between the two. Tennessee beat Ohio State in the 1998 Citrus Bowl 20-14. Now, when we look at this game, how does Tennessee win it? Now, number one, this doesn't seem to be a particularly confident Ohio State team right now. And it's the biggest question out of everything here is the psyche of this Ohio State team. It has more talent than anyone else. It has Chip Kelly as its offensive coordinator, and it should be rolling right now with the one seed on the way to a national championship coronation. But for some bizarre reason, the Buckeyes don't seem to get that. Number one, their defense is the best in college football talent-wise and can clean up just about any mess. Number two, the offensive explosion is there, but we get to number three. You can't start an explosion unless you press the button. This team plays not to lose far more than it steps on the gas and stress test what this machine can actually do. Even so, there hasn't been a whole lot of adversity for Ohio State this season. Whenever it feels threatened, though, it throttles down, it runs the ball, it dinks, it dunks, it waits for the defense to be awesome, and then something good usually happens. See the Nebraska game on that. Now, Tennessee can screw all that up, and it starts with the defensive front. Ohio State's O line is the Achilles heel. It's not awful, but it's beaten up. It's thin, and it won't generate too much of a push against the nation's eighth best run defense. Worse yet, the volunteer pass rush will pressure Will Howard, with which usually leads to something ultra conservative in the game plan. But this is the thing. You got to run Dylan Sampson. Rely on a defense that's fourth in the nation and feed into those Ohio State fears. Keep it close until late and watch how tight this Ohio State Buckeye team gets. Why Ohio State will win? Well, maybe, just maybe the extra time off, the embarrassing loss to Michigan will be a blessing for Ohio State. The worst thing that could possibly happen to Ohio State did. And in a massive upset, the sun will rise after the Michigan loss. In reality, the truly worst thing would have been to lose another offensive lineman to injury or one of their stars or Will Howard. That didn't happen. So if it turns out Carson Beck is the difference between winning it all and not, The worst thing that could have happened to Georgia occurred in the SEC championship while the Buckeyes were relaxing on the couch. Now, maybe, just maybe, Ohio State woke up and realized that it's time to stop thinking and just throw. Literally open it up, crank the tempo, play with a better pace. And if Tennessee scores, so what? Go down and score and assume the rested Buckeye defense will hold up the next time. The Vols put up a ton of yards, but this isn't anything like the high-powered attack of a few years ago. The two losses came when their quarterback threw for fewer than 169 yards. Only three teams threw for more than 169 yards on this Ohio State defense. Tennessee sets everything up with the ground game that takes over the narrative. It's used to averaging over 5 yards per game. Oregon is the only team to hit the five mark against Ohio State. All right. And the others to do it were Ohio State, Iowa, and Michigan. Oregon is the only team to hit that mark against Ohio State. And then there's this. Oregon this year, Michigan last year. Those remain the only two teams over the last two seasons to score more than 17 points on a Buckeye defense that's currently ranked number one in scoring defense, number one in total defense, number one in red zone defense, number two in pass defense. So when I'm picking this game, how many points did Tennessee score in the loss to Arkansas? 14. What was the final score in the loss to Georgia? 31-17. How many did the team score in the 10 wins? 23 or more. To take this further, Tennessee is 0-14 since 2019 and 3-26 since 2017 when scoring fewer than 20 points. Michigan this year, Missouri Bowl loss last season. Those were the only two times Ohio State lost a game when allowing fewer than 20 points since a 10-7 clunker in the Luke Fickell pre-Urban season of 2011. It'll be a tight defensive game. And then the Ohio State offense will finally open it up. Things will start to click. Social media will go out of its mind, and everybody's going to talk about how Ohio State's the best team and they're going to win it all. I don't know if that last part is true, but I think in the end, I think Ohio State will win this game. I think it will be a tight, hard-fought game for about 3 quarters. I think Ohio State will pull away a little at the end. I'm going to say take Ohio State, give the 7.5 points. I believe Ohio State wins this game 28-16. I also believe this. I also believe that Ryan Day will be the reason that they do not win a national championship this year, even though they have the best team. All right, guys, make sure you follow me on X at Grueling Truth. Make sure you go check out thegruelingtruth.com. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notification on YouTube. Click on the link for BetMGM in the description down below if you're watching on YouTube. But for now, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.